Hey everybody, it's Vince with Brutal Lawn Co. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. If you are not already subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe because I'm going to have more videos to come. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, so if you click this video, you want to learn how to put a irrigation system in your ground for super cheap. I put an irrigation in my front lawn, and what I did was I used some PVC, I used some Rainbird irrigation heads, and I will show you how to hook them up. I wanted to keep this extremely DIY. I wanted to keep this so if you didn't have a truck, you had to do everything by hand, so you didn't have equipment to dig up the trench. I didn't use a trencher. So all said and done, it's like $350, $400, which is super cheap. I talked to a few guys and they're like, oh, it's gonna be a couple grand. Even if I would have rented a trencher, the trencher was $120 for 4 hours. It would have been around $500 for me to put an irrigation system in my front. The timer that I used, I'll go over. The heads that I use, I'll go over. So stay tuned. And again, thank you for watching this video. One thing I will mention is throughout it, I do pick up on a couple things that I probably should have done differently. So at the end of the video, I'm going to show you or tell you what I would do differently as far as the layout, as far as how many heads I use, and the timer setup. So here we go. So since I already have damage here in the lawn after getting the main sewer line replaced, I figured now would be a good time to put in irrigation. This is going to be a strictly do-it-yourselfer. I'm trying to keep it as cheap as possible. Just trying to show you guys that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on fancy equipment to get good water on your lawn. So I'm going to show you what I do here in the lawn. I'm going to show you how I set it up to know that I'm going to have enough coverage. I put a sprinkler head in the ground. These are Rainbird 5004s, and I had a little yard spike. I put that in the ground. I turned on my water, and this is at a 2 gallon per minute nozzle. And then I hooked up another one about 25 feet up, and once the water started running, I wanted to make sure that I had head-to-head coverage. Once I saw that I had head-to-head coverage, I then moved this down to this corner and then the other one up top over to here and ran it again, and I had perfect coverage. So that means I can get away with 2 zones. Zone meaning this head and that head will be on one line, which will be hooked up to a timer. That's zone 1. And then that head and the head over here will be together on a timer, and that'll be zone 2. That will give me adequate coverage for this. It's roughly 1,800 square feet, maybe a little less. So this will cover, this will do it. So what I did is I put a string line that goes all the way back here. That way when I dig all of this, it's going to be a nice straight line. So I'll have an initial trench that goes all the way down here. So that's where my last head will be, or one of my heads will be. I'm I'm gonna put an outside faucet here, so it's gonna come out, connect into here, and then run across. From here, I'll tee off one area, put a head up here, and then likewise, it'll come down here, and there'll be a tee down there, or another head right there. And that'll give me coverage across this whole area. So this is just a standard flat shovel. What I'm going to do is, just like you would edge a flower bed, go along my string line about 2 or 3 inches from the line and dig down both sides. That way, my original plan here was to use the sod that I dig up and put it back in. Although later on I realized that it did not work, but this made getting this trench started much easier. So what I started to do here was take a pitchfork and go down and pull up the edge, quote-unquote edge, that you just cut into the turf to make pulling up really easily. Although I found out that it's super easy to get up by hand, so that's what I continued to do. Alright, so we got some rain last night, so the trench is all muddy, caved in a little bit, so I'm gonna have to dig it up a little more. Say you want your pipe down 8 to 12 inches, from the top of your pipe. So we'll just have to dig it down a little bit. After you have the trenches all dug out, I'm going to be putting a outside faucet here. My irrigation lines will come up and it'll tie into here. I'll have some separate timers for each zone. So what you're going to need to do, you're going to need your fittings, some PVC glue, and some primer. I got the Rain or Shine. It's mainly for irrigation systems and indoor fire systems. Has a quicker dry response time. So the pipe that I'm using is a 3/4 inch Schedule 40 PVC. What I'll do is lay it in the trench. I'm going to have it come up at about 1 foot. So you grab your cutters, we'll go 2 feet just to be sure. Since you already have that cut, use that as a reference point. All right. I'm not going to glue these, but I'm going to put 2 caps on there. That way, no dirt gets in there. All right. Here's our 90. Now right now, it doesn't matter if it's plumb or side to side. I'll glue it in down there and we'll worry about it there. So what you need to do this primer is nasty stuff, so and it's also on really hard. All right, so you grab your primer, go ahead and prime around this. What this stuff does is it actually melts a small layer of the PVC. Which then when you put the glue on it, creates a better bond. The glue. Make sure you're getting this side here too. All right. Give it a quarter turn. Hold some pressure on it. And then watch, you'll have some leakage there. Get the piece that you're gonna use. Think about how far in that fitting goes. There's a little ridge. That's about how far you're gonna wanna prime that. Get some glue in there. Usually, if this was gonna be in somewhere where it was gonna be visible, I would clean this up, make it look a little nicer, but no one's gonna see this. It's in the ground. So there's one. And then you repeat the step for number 2. Again, if that happens, just wipe it off. All right, get some more glue on it. And again, I'm being messy because it's in the ground. Otherwise, I'd be making this look a lot nicer. Putting on a heavy amount of glue. That way when I turn on the water, I know it's gonna be nice and sealed. All right, so there's my first 2. All right, I'm just gonna backfill that in a little bit, just so when I'm down at the end, this won't move. What I can even do while I'm at it is just make sure that that's nice and level. There. So when you read one of these, you want the center bubble to be in the center there. So what you can see that I'm doing here is I put a piece of pipe in the trench, a full 10-foot piece, and bump it to the side and line that up to where my 90 would be, and then I'd make that cut.
So here is a PVC 90 with a male threaded end. I used some Teflon tape to wrap around it a few times. Give it a squeeze, that way the threads present themselves and you don't cross thread it. And then tighten it up.
Now I have a hose hooked in here, and that was for my one line that I already had done out there. This right here and the one down by the road I have tested yet, so I'm gonna swap. I'll show you guys here. I'm gonna take this off and put that one over here, and then what you want to do before you put your irrigation heads on is you want to flush out the line. That way there's no dirt and debris inside of there. All right, so what I would do differently. I probably would have thrown another section to have 6 irrigation heads instead of 4. I do get head-to-head coverage, but it's very, it's not as fine-tuned of a spray as I would like it to be. So if I would have went 2, so I have one on one end, one on the other, and then one front to back. If I would have divided those 2 and just put one on each side, I would have been very happy with that. So next time I do one, I'm going to put 6 and then just run them at a finer mist. Another thing, I would have rented a trencher for $120. That took me many days and it was very hot. So if you can, have a buddy come over, just with a truck, get that thing over there and you know, use a trencher, unless you have a small section that you're trying to do. Another thing that I wanted to do, which I'm gonna do a renovation here, and I'm gonna document all that. So one of the other things that I wanted to do was run some funny pipe. Now what I did was I took the CPVC, or the PVC, and I hooked it right into a 90, right into the actual irrigation head. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end the PVC, put an adapter into some funny pipe so it's more of a flexible tubing, and hook up my irrigation head to that. So on a couple of the areas, which I'll show you in another video, they're kind of like that, because the way that it slopes up the hill and to a direct 90, it's like this or it's like that. So if I use the funny pipe, I can move the head and be able to get my angle down a little bit more and not be spraying up into the air, which doesn't allow for the best coverage for the rain or for the irrigation. So those are a couple things that I would do differently. If there's any more that I think of, I'll add it to the next video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is part one. The next one will be the backfill. It'll be turning on the sprinklers. It'll be hooking up the Rainbird timers. And I might throw in the seeding process. I might leave that for a separate video. So it's either a part 2 or a part 3 series. So again, hit that subscribe button. Just pause. Go hit it. I'll wait. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Comment below something that you may have a question with or that you may do differently. I'm always looking to learn too. So yeah, just thank you. And oh baby.